Hello, I'm Emily Bierman, General Manager of the Carlson Center at Johnson County Community College. Thank you for joining us for New Dance Partners 2020, the ultimate collaboration. Our mission with this project is to create new works in dance for local dancers. We bring choreographers to Kansas City to set that work on local dance companies, which own the work for 2 years. This is the 7th year we've produced New Dance Partners. Since 2013, we've helped create 25 new works in contemporary and modern dance, something not many performing arts presenters can say, and of which we're very proud. This year's project was a little different for obvious reasons. Because of COVID, we gave the choreographers a choice about how to create the work. 2 of them chose to rehearse virtually and then travel here to Kansas City for a final staging and filming right here in Yardley Hall. 2 choreographers chose to do the entire project from a distance in Chicago and New York. 2 of our dancers even chose to be filmed on location in Denver and Minneapolis. So when we call this work the ultimate collaboration, this year those words took on an entirely new meaning. As always, when Michael Lutoff and I start planning New Dance Partners, we never quite know what the final result will be. But I think you'll see in a moment that this year the works have surpassed our expectations and make us proud to work with such a group of talented artists. This year's collaborators are Kaylee Kwan with Owen Cox Dance Group, Rosie Herrera with Sterling Dance Theater, Julia Hinojosa with Melinda Hedgecorth and Ensemble Iberica, and Michaela Taylor with Williams Henry Contemporary Dance Company. Program notes and biographies for the choreographers, dancers, and dance companies are on our website at jccc.edu/Carlson Center. We hope to see these works live on stage one of these days because that was in the back of our minds for this entire project this year. Thanks to all of our choreographers and dancers for your flexibility and your passion to overcome all obstacles. We are truly grateful. So please enjoy New Dance Partners 2020. And now I'll turn it over to Michael Lutoff.
Welcome to the 2020 New Dance Partner. I'm Michael Lutoff, Artistic Director of the project. And needless to say, it has been an incredible year to come through in the colors that we are going to be showing you. With the guidance and the passion and the commitment of Emily Bierman, the director of the project, and the support of the Carlson Center and the Johnson County Community College, not only were we able to enthuse the audience to participate on a recorded retrospective of the works that we had done in the past since we couldn't go live, but we kept the fire going and were able to engage committed artists to think of working long distance virtually and eventually getting their work into a video format so that it could be presented as a new work. At the same time, the companies that we worked with all offered their complete support. Dancers were ecstatic to be able to at least experience some new choreography and lended themselves totally to a vision that it is the essence of what New Dance Partners is all about. Let me rephrase everything by saying that at no time did we not take into account the safety of COVID-19 and social distancing. And when you look at the program and you see some duets, you will find out, or well, you won't find out, but I should tell you that these are people that either live together or are spending time together or are a couple. Otherwise, most of the things are ensembles at a distance unless they've had a communal living experience. So now we're going to stop and see this incredible performance of 4 brand new works, keeping in touch with the dancers, keeping in touch with the choreographers, and more important, keeping in touch with you, our audience. So I personally would like to thank Emily Bierman and her staff for persisting on this and making sure that it did take place against all odds. Thank you. Kaylee, welcome back, and it's nice to see you. Kaylee Cron is one of our gifted young choreographers for the 2020 New Dance Partners. And she was saddled with the incredible responsibility of having to work with all the realities that we're facing. So it's obvious that a question is going to be, how did you manage? How did you find this inspiration, and how did everybody relate to you?
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. So originally, this piece was supposed to be for a theater. New Dance Partners was supposed to be for a theater, but with the pandemic and not being able to gather and not being able to be in Kansas City to choreograph on Owen Cox, it pivoted over to a film. Just the nature of it, we all kind of pivoted. I basically used so I recently retired from Ballet X, a contemporary company based in Philadelphia. And I retired in August, and I was commissioned to create a new work for theater as well in July. And because of the pandemic, we pivoted over to dance films. And so it was the craziest task to create work. The dancers couldn't gather in a space together. So I created work in their living rooms, and I tried to create a storyline with the help of a videographer, and then we moved all of that rehearsal process outside. Steep learning curve, but also really exciting. Never in my life did I think I'd do anything like that. And so with that experience from Ballet X, I kind of, once we started speaking and you were mentioning maybe pivoting at New Dance Partners into films, I was like, great, I can try again. So I basically used my experience from Ballet X to create a new work on Owen Cox dance group, and the dancers were lovely. And it was the craziest thing because there were 3 locations. It was 4 dancers in Kansas City, 1 in Denver, 1 in Minneapolis, and we're putting together a whole film with all of these moving parts.
Well, one of the things that I find very challenging for all of you, since I'm an old school choreographer and I come from the 20th century, is the fact that you had to readjust your concept of movement from a large environment, which is a large stage, to the fact that it's going to be captured by a little camera and then projected right on your face. So the realities are different. The uses of space, I imagine, vary, and how you relate to it. How was that adjustment to you? Were you able to shift from one to another without any problem? And will it be possible, because that's one of the things we wanted, that the work will eventually be able to be performed on a live stage?
Yeah, it's the thing about creating work within a living room is that it becomes quite malleable. So, because our living room spaces don't have Marley and a sprung floor, the movement becomes kind of easily transitions into outdoor environments, just the nature of it. We're not doing any double tours, crazy grande allegro. I wish we could. But I think I was trying very hard. I did a lot of research in the spring on different, dance on films. And for me, the stuff that really I emotionally connected with is when, it's that up close view of the dancer. So as much as I love huge movement and a dancer just tearing through space, I think there's something special and human that we can capture on, with video, even though the movements are not as large as we're used to. I think the way videographers can kind of zoom in on the almost like, the crazy thing about film is that you don't miss anything. Like even if the dancer strays away for a second mentally, film picks it up. So, but that's the glorious part, is that we can pick up emotion that an audience in a proscenium wouldn't be able to see like directly. So I was trying to work a little bit with that feeling of it. And I think the nature, all my inspiration right now is trying to get, human connection. It's just with the pandemic, it's just coming out of me. All I want to see is humans connect. So that was pretty much the abstract theme of the film is wanting that human connection. And I think when it can be performed in a theater, when I can rework it with touching, oh my gosh, I think it's going to be very fast, very easy. Once we can work, we don't have to work around that part of it. It's creating the social distancing.
But you brought up a good point that our audiences, if they were looking at this, have to understand of how you and the whole organization was keeping safe through social distancing. No dancers that were not a couple could dance together.
Yeah, there's one duet in the film, and it's a married couple, Latara and Winston. They're beautiful. It was really nice to choreograph a duet with touching. That was awesome. But the other two dancers, Emily and Laura, it was everything that they did was filmed outside. And then there was one inside scene where they actually used a costume. Costumes were by Christine Dart. She's very brilliant. She actually got a turtleneck to pull over the nose, so it acted as if a mask within a costume setting. But, it's a restriction that we kind of just have to deal with. It's safety really first for everything. But I think you just have to come up with creative ways to get around the social distancing part of it. But again, once we can come back together, I think it's going to be this huge, like people are just going to be spewing out ideas, so excited about it.
We're really grateful that you accepted the challenge and that you met it the way you did. And now I'm certainly hoping that the audience will, get to know you better. And from here on in, the sky's the limit. While we're keeping time, which is your work, right?
Thanks, Michael. No, I think whatever the art form needs to keep pushing forward, because it's really, I know it feels like forever, I'm sure for artists all over the place, but whatever keeps us going until we can get back into theaters again to perform. I think any production of any type of material, pivoting for film it's no joke. It becomes, I thought our performance was difficult, but there's so many more collaborators, right? In terms of creating films, and luckily we had budget to hire videographers, thank goodness, so. Yeah. But I find that in the pandemic, I'm collaborating. You just need collaborators to create work. And I'm meeting so many more people, like everyone at New Dance Partners. It's been awesome. It's awesome. So awesome.
Well, we were delighted to have you. And certainly it won't be the last time that you and I will see each other for sure. But in the name of everybody at the New Dance Partner, we thank you for putting your talent and for coming to Kansas City to look at the final details of the work. And all the best to you and your family.
Oh, thanks, Michael. Sending love. Virtual
You're
love.
welcome. So please sit back and enjoy Kaylee Kwam's Keeping Time. Here today with the charming Rosie Herrera, who is one of our choreographers for this year's New Dance Partners version that goes virtual to our audiences. Rosie, you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I had seen you for a while, but it's absolutely incredible. You've matured, you grow, you look like an artist right now. And for what I understand, the world is your oyster. So that's great.
Thank you.
Obviously, you have worked in your company and other companies only with women. But one of the challenges that we've always had, and at the same time that's worked very well for the whole program, is that Sterling dance is mostly women.
Yeah.
And you just told me a little bit about the piece. And why don't you tell me a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I have to say, when you and I were first having a conversation, you were just like, well, there's this company and it's all female. I was like, that's the group I want to work with. Not just because I love working with women, because they're a lot easier to work with. Not just that, but also, well, you know, but I have been doing over the past, almost, it's like 5 or 6 years now, I've been doing this work with religious iconography. And it started with a kind of looking at my own spiritual upbringing as a Catholic and kind of deconstructing some of the symbolism of the Catholic Church in my work. And so I've been doing this research with quite a lot of scholars and friends and different points of research for the past 5 years. And I knew that I wanted to explore Mary and Mary's iconography. So the opportunity to work with women felt like such a natural way to explore that iconography. And then interestingly enough, so many of the women in the company, I worked with 6 dancers and 5 of them were mothers. And so it felt not just like serendipitous, but like really fateful that this was the group of people that I got to explore this with. So yeah, it was really pretty magical. And I have to be honest, a lot of times as a choreographer, with commissions, you do get a lot of freedom, but you want to make a work that you feel speaks for the company, their history as a company, what's next for them. And, my intention is always to pull something different out of the group. I think we were able to accomplish that, but I was nervous because, you tell most companies, hey, I'm interested in religious iconography, and, people kind of shut down. And this group is so
not
game.
them, no?
Not them at all.
No, they're very open.
Yeah, they were so open. They were so game. They were willing to have those conversations. And I was amazed at how we were able to create an intimacy together online, because that's new for me. And I even expressed that from the beginning. I was like, be patient with me. I feel very confident as a choreographer and as a director, but not necessarily as a choreographer or director working from a computer and not in the space with them. So they were really, really wonderful. And their openness, it really was the only reason that we were able to go as deep as I think we went with the work, was because from day one, they were so open and such great communicators that it was like we were old friends. I have to say, as a dancer that has parents in my company as well, I've struggled, I've really struggled to help my dancers that are touring with me or rehearsing with me, support them as parents. And I don't know what your experience has been. It's hard. It's hard to figure out babysitting and figuring out childcare.
Totally.
And what makes this company really unique is that they have childcare in their studio, which I have never seen before. I have never seen that kind of attention and care to that part of someone's life. And I think it really speaks to the artistic director Mona's dedication to her own family, because she is also a mother, and understanding the sacrifices that a lot of dancers have to make to continue dancing. And her work to provide childcare is what allows these dancers the opportunity to continue to dance professionally. And let me tell you that a dancer's body and what their body experiences is like at the root of what creates everything in the studio. So to be able to work with mothers who have had that harrowing experience of motherhood, that is amazing. That's everything, and so I think that they've really done something quite amazing.
Obviously you're saying the work it's based on Maria, and that's what you call it. You call it in Spanish, right? Maria.
Yeah,
Maria.
Maria.
Okay.
Maria.
Did you develop a central character, which everything else moved around?
Well, I think it's a great question. We were working online for the majority of our process. So whenever I was interested in Mary's symbolism, kind of across cultures, not just for the Catholic faith, but just the idea of the Virgin Mary, the aesthetics that are kind of tied to her, how she's described, what parts of her are described and what parts of her are not described biblically and just kind of in religious text. And so because almost all of the dancers were mothers, the questions were really personal. And although she was an initial point of reference, I would say that she was a reference point for the aesthetic that we were exploring in, but really the work is about the dancers in the work. And, I read a lot, not just from the Bible, but just a lot of text about her. And it's kind of interesting, the things that because you think to yourself, I was like, wow, this is in terms of Catholic or Christian religion, this is like the mother of God. Yet we don't really know that much about her personality. We know, basically the only thing we know about her is that she's a virgin who gave birth to God. And then there was, gave birth in a barn. And that's kind of what we know. So the parts of her that are really discussed, even though she could be an example for like how all mortals should be, really what we focus on is her virginity and her sacrifice.
Yeah.
And if that's not a symbol for like what it is to be a woman in the world, I don't know what is, you know? And so I really explored the language when people talk about her. Like I said, the idea of sacrifice and how that's tied into who she is. As kind of host, the host. She's like a host to this like spirit.
Right.
She's a mother figure, but she's not at the front of the story. She's in the very back of the story, which feels so often so much of how mothers are actually seen in society, you know?
Yeah.
So I asked them a lot of questions about themselves. I asked them, you know, and some of those questions you don't even have to ask, because when somebody has to stop rehearsal to breastfeed, you know, you don't really have to go, you know, there's an intimacy that you create by having the child present in the room. And that struggle that you feel between, am I a performer or am I a mother? How do I do both of these things? It's not hard to bring that into the room when your infant is there and your body is asking you to feed. Because I think it touches on what we were talking about earlier, that there are certain companies that the values that they hold as people are at the center of their art making. And this is clearly one of those companies, their values and, you know, that are centered in family. And that ultimately, that changes the work that's seen on stage, and not necessarily for the worse.
This challenge, of course, of working virtually had a two-part object, because the idea is we wanted the dancers to work. We wanted to have an experience of creation and performance during a time where most people are standing still doing nothing or trying to figure out what they're going to do when this is all over. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, create a piece that not only will reflect whatever you want within the small screen of the television or the large screen of a movie house, but once it's done, can be brought back to a live stage. Mm-hmm. Can your work transition from what you've done to being performed live and in color?
I think it can. I think it would entail a little bit more work, but I do think it can. And I think that those challenges will be very clear to you once you see the piece. But Moana and I put together a little game plan of what would happen if we had the opportunity to perform it live. But I thought, you know, my focus was really to make it I think it's easier to in my opinion, I think it's easier to make something from film into stage than the other way around, which is, I did not expect. I always thought, I just recently started making more narrative films. I've been working kind of with experimental film for a long time, but actually right before I came to work, the work that I did with Sterling, I made my first film. Making my first film. It's still in process. And I had all these ideas of how things were going to work. And I'm like, I know how to direct. I've directed 1,000 shows and I know how to work with actors. And then I realized how different of a challenge it is to do something on video. So my focus was really to make it powerful and complete for the premiere that it was going to have online, and then work backwards.
I think that's fabulous. It's nice to see you. And I think, the audience is going to be very excited. And exactly, that's where we're going now, to see the work Maria by Rosie Herrera.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon.
You too.
c'était magie dans Kaila. Dumwe, yo j'étais wanga dans Kaila. Yo si me wanga dans Kaila, papa. Pour qu'on arrive écrasé dans Kaila. Yo j'étais magie dans Kaila. Dumwe, yo j'étais wanga dans Kaila. Yo si me wanga dans Kaila, papa. Pour qu'on arrive écrasé dans Kaila. Qu'on arrive écrasé dans Kaila. Canari crasé la caïla, canari crasé la caïla, canari crasé la caïla.
We are here with beautiful Julia Hinojosa, one of our guest choreographers for this unusual year of New Dance Partners 2020. Julia, welcome, and many thanks for all your efforts in making sure that we were able to produce a program of great variety, of great intensity, of great dancing, and of great choreography, and you are an integral part of it. So tell us a little bit about you, and then a little bit about the anxieties that you obviously suffered when you had to learn to deal with the long distance choreographing and the issue of music. Where are you going to film it? What? Let us know something about it.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me and letting me be a part of this experience. I really enjoyed working with the different performers and working with your team. So it's been really wonderful. A little bit about me is I am a Spanish dancer. I dance with the Ensemble Español Spanish Dance Theater here in Chicago. I also serve as the artistic director for their youth company, which is their pre-professional training company. And so I've been with that company now for about 15 years. In addition to that, I do extensive teaching all over the city. So I've taught at different high schools, at the college level, also with youth. And so that's been part of my training as well. In terms of this work was really exciting for me. It came at a time where I definitely needed something to occupy my mind. I think we started this project right as a lot of the shelter in places started happening. And so, yeah, there was a little anxiety going into how was this really going to work out? I think a lot of those challenges really informed how the work came out. And I'm really happy about that. I'm really, really excited about that. It really did force me to think outside of the box, move outside of my comfort zone. And I think it moved it into places that it may not have moved otherwise. And so working with Melinda was great. I think it allowed her to grow as well, because this was the first time that she worked with a manton, the Spanish shawl, and the bata de cola, which is the long train dress. And so she had experience working with both of them individually, but she shared with me that this was the first time that she had worked with them together. And so adding a little bit of challenge for her and for us together. It was great to see her interpret the work. And so there were often times where she was just asked to feel, to move, to do, and she did it really well. One of the challenges was me not being able to be there in person, and figuring out how to make this work without being in person, how to make this work film was really a challenge for me. It was the first time I've ever been asked to do anything like that. And so one of the things that we chose to do was to use outdoor settings, but outdoor settings that were really emblematic of the cities that we were in. And so kind of this separate but together idea, and really allowing our audiences to see that come through visually. The piece is called Tal Como Eres, Just As You Are, and really looking at just being our authentic selves in this moment in time. I think it's really important, at least for me, it's been something that I have been thinking about a lot. We live in this world that, I don't know, often labels us, and we're surrounded by people telling us what to do, how we should be. And it was really important for me to just go into this with no expectations. I think it forced me to go in without any expectations. What does that look like? What does it sound like? And really was the springboard for the work is, what does this look like when we are just who we are in this moment in time without any expectations? Because everything was changing so quickly.
Let me add one thing, because of interest. You had the unique opportunity, which the other groups did not have, that you were working with live music, or at least an ensemble that was going to provide you with a musical score that was essentially put together for this occasion.
Yes.
So, so you also had to learn, collaborated with the director. So tell us a little bit about that, because that's totally unusual from everybody else, different from everybody else.
Yeah, a couple of things. The good thing about flamenco is oftentimes there's a structure. So it's easy for me, the dancer and the choreographer, to come in and say, this is the general structure of the music that I want. And then we collaborate, tweaking it from that moment. And so that's where we started, is working with Bo and just saying, like, this is the palo that we're working in, and this is the general structure of that. Usually the changes and the tweaks happen live, right? So they're watching the movement happen and they can be inspired or think of different ways to create different dynamics in the music. And that wasn't happening because there was so much up in the air. The creation was happening in parallel, as opposed to kind of one coming and then the other, or vice versa, right? The music coming and then the dance, or the dance and then the music. And it was really happening at the same time. So that made it a little tricky. But because of the structure of the music and knowing that general structure, it was a little bit easier for us to do a little bit of that back and forth.
Well, that's tremendous. So why don't we just sit back and relax and see Tal Como Eres, Just As You Are, choreographed by Julia Hinojosa and performed by Melinda Hedgeworth. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am thrilled to be here today and introduce you to Michaela Taylor, a young, talented woman who has enthralled our dancers and our new dance partner and has put us in a different direction. So Michaela, thank you, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before I start asking you about the experience.
Okay, I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I started dancing when I was 3 years old, put in a hip hop class, and really I knew right away that that is what I wanted to do. But I would say around the age of 7, I saw a lot of professional dancers that I admired, and I thought, okay, I'm really going to go after this. And primarily stayed in the sort of hip hop, modern jazz training. Being from Los Angeles, you know, it's a very commercially driven city. And so that's what I was training to be, a commercial dancer. Around the age of 13, I was introduced to a Russian ballet school where I was really inspired by the dancers there, just their strength and their flexibility. And so I told my mom that I wanted to train there. And I went to the Marat Duyukiv School of Ballet for about 4 years. And then also went to a performing arts high school here in Los Angeles, LA County High School for the Arts. And so after that experience, I sort of left the commercial dancer life behind. And I primarily focused on concert dance, classical training with ballet, modern, and stayed in that world. Went to Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle, Washington, graduated in 2014, and then moved back here to Los Angeles, and I joined 8-9 Dance Company, which is led by Danielle Agami, and it's a Gaga-based dance company. And so that's pretty much the trajectory of my dancing. I started off in this hip hop sort of isolated, very articulate world, very performative and expressive in the face. And then I went to a more classical form of training where that's sort of muted and you're focusing on the strengthening of your body. And so dancing with the Gaga company, it allowed me to really express and mesh all of those sort of ideas together, because essentially you're improvising every day. Yeah. And during that experience, I realized that I had a passion for creating and putting together movements and choreographing. And so I decided to leave 8-9 after about 8 or 9 months, which is so funny because it's named 8-9. I always make that joke. And I just kind of put all my eggs in one basket and really focused on creating work. And so I started the TL Collective, which is the company that I direct, in 2016. And really started in intimate spaces. And my movement has, I think, evolved, and it's continuing to evolve, but it's a incorporation of isolations and sort of where I started, which is sort of this hip hop, very expressive way of moving, also combined with classical lines and shapes, and just very expressive and telling story through the body. So, well,
that's what we want. But I'm really impressed, because obviously you made your entire education and your career based out of the West Coast, and not trying to be an East Coast snob. Mm-hmm. But the people in the East Coast know you and know a lot about you. You know, I mean, and it's not often that, well, at least it wasn't often when people from the West Coast were that well known in the East Coast that they were searching for your work and knowing your work. And actually, I must confess, I've not seen your work live. Mm-hmm. I've seen it only on videos, and I have, of course, a web of people I admire and I respect, whom I ask and I call and I say, who do I? And 3 or 4 of them mentioned your name.
Wow.
And that's why when the situation arose, and I thought, well, who would we want to bring who was out there doing different kind of work, because New Dance Partner is about doing different kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Your name came about, and I was thrilled when you said that you would do it. Now, grant you, at that time, we were both talking about our past reality, not our present reality. So how did you manage to adjust to all of these incredible changes that obviously made you work in a different way?
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, as you explain it, I'll ask you, what reactions did you have and how did it change?
Right. Yes. Well, it's funny that you say, sort of this East Coast, West Coast sort of separation that I feel like has happened in the past. With all that's going on in our world today, I feel like we're seeing a lot of the lines blur, people stepping into different ways of creating. And for me, it's been watching others first and foremost, just seeing how they've been flexible and able to adjust to the time. And it's kind of propelled me into films and creating dance for film, which is something that I've always wanted to do. Also being from Los Angeles, I've seen a lot of dance on film, but I knew that I wanted to do it in a different way. And so I think that this time has lended that opportunity to me. And thankfully, I'm so grateful that that connection to other parts of the country has also opened itself up to me and my work and the way that I'm, navigating this time. But I really do value connection, and I really do value telling a story, and I want to connect to people every time that I create. So I'm always thinking about what's happening in society, what's happening in my life, and I try to mesh the two together and not stray away from that. But it's funny because everyone has different perspectives of what they see too. So my work can be viewed as abstract at times, but it's coming from a very emotional, visceral place. I created the work through Zoom. So the technology has really created a new challenge, I think, for choreographers, and also a way for us to grow and be able to strengthen our communication skills, because you can't just rely on the physicality anymore. You have to really put into words what you want to see. And so I, of course, was challenged by that, but also found such pleasure in seeing it come to life and seeing the power of communication and how it can transcend your physicality. Sometimes physicality wasn't enough. And I enjoy that aspect of it because I enjoy to include text and actual words in my work. So that was a challenge and also a joy. When I was able to work with Williams Henry, they were, eager. And I think because we've been in this pandemic, so many dancers, and I found that with them, were ready, and they had this willingness and just raw attack and energy just to get it done and to give as much as they could to the process. And as a choreographer, that's always just amazing to see, because you have this willingness to be vulnerable with your work, and you want to work with people that want to receive and want to dive in. And so that was really nice. And it was an intimacy that we built, a bond that we built together, because again, this was a unique experience and it was a smaller cast. So I really got to know them individually and got to see the transformation. They all were incredibly talented already, but to see someone really own your movement language is always just a great thing to witness. When I actually got there, it was surreal, because you're talking to these individuals all the time through a camera lens, and then you see them face to face. And so it's almost wow, we're together and we're actually I can be close to you in that way. And so there was a lot of excitement there that was brewing on both sides, I think. And of course we had to go over details because some things got lost through through technology. And so, yeah, there was a time, I think the first few days, it was almost like relearning the work. We had to do it from the top and just take it section by section and really go over the details. But for the most part, they were able to grasp my intention and the way that I moved. So that was good.
The other question that arises is, Emily, the director of the program, and myself, we're hopefully conceiving this incredible pandemic treatment of the works with the idea, yes, we will produce it for television, we will create it so that it can be aired, but in the back of the mind, we want choreographers and company to know that this can also be if we ever go back to a reality that we had, where you can do live performances, which hopefully we will, that the work could be translated to the stage with the same dynamic. Is that going to happen, or is that, or you're going to have another process?
Well, I would probably love to revisit it and see what could work for a live performance with the sound and just adding a little bit more dynamic, because with film, you can sort of add that dynamic with angle shifts and how you zoom in and how you capture the movement. And so just watching it live, I don't know, there may need to be a shift in the sound or a shift in the rhythm of the dance. And so I would probably like to view it again. Even, I mean, like I said, this is just strengthen choreographer skills to look at things through a video or through Zoom or what have you. And so I'm sure that it could work without it being filmed. It could work as a live performance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Yes.
All
right.
So now let's see Michaela Taylor's great work, BTS, for your enjoyment with the Williams Henry Contemporary Dance Company.
life. When is it going to stop? When is it going to end? What is it that needs to change? More time, more unity, more concern, more stuff. No. Let's be honest. Oh God, why? What is happening? What is going on? I need answers. Just give me the answer. Okay. No. Thank you very much. I'm making progress. I'm doing okay. Everything is working out perfectly. Pop! I feel like I'm going to burst. Open. Everything on display for everyone to see. So many eyes watching me. So many people wanting to see the next move. Are they watching or aren't they? Here nor there nor here. I need to know where to go, which step to take, which move to make. Who do I listen to? You? Him? Her? Me? No, too complex. My mind goes back and forth and up and down. I need clarity. Do I trust you? Do I trust me? Do I trust life? Do I trust her? Do I trust him? Do I trust us? Do I trust? How do I trust? What is trust? Trust. Have faith in what?
Well, there you have it. New Dance Partners 2020. Thank you so much for joining us. And before I let you go, I do have a few more acknowledgments I'd like to make. First of all, to the crew here in the Carlson Center, to Sean Bergman and his team, who leaned into this project 1,000% and really made it happen. Thank you so much. To our donors, we could not do this project without you this year or any year. So to the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission, to the Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Performing Arts, to George Langworthy Sr., and to Adrian Kilbride, thank you so much. To the Board of Trustees, and to Dr. Andy Bown, President of Johnson County Community College, they have continued to support us through these weird times when we have rescheduled event after event and helped us find a way to fulfill our mission of connecting to the community through the performing arts. Thank you for your support as well. If you would like to make a donation to support dance at Johnson County Community College in the future, we would be grateful for that support. There's a link in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube, or you can visit our website at jccc.edu/Carlson Center. Click on the top, Support Us. So that's it for another project here in 2020. Please stay safe, be well, and I look forward to seeing you when we can safely return to the theaters again. Good night.